Back with you on the Endgame. Thad Brown on Rochester First on a Thursday. If you missed the breaking news here with the Patriots, who the Bills face, of course, on Sunday, one of their top defensive tackles, Milton Williams, not at practice today. He was limited yesterday, and didn't seem to be any worry out of Foxborough that it would be something that would keep him out of a game. But if you're not practicing on a Thursday, that is a big, big deal. So we'll have more on that tonight at 8:30 on BKL Nightly. Remember, every single Monday through Thursday, you can see BKL Nightly right here on Rochester First. Me and Rachel Leiber, Caleb Carr, we're on Monday and Thursday. We got Josh Reed and Carl Jones from our Bills Kickoff Live crew. So half hour of everything Bills related every single Monday through Thursday. Different shows too. Tuesday night is the Let's Talk Ball edition. Me and Carl do X and O breakdown. So a good show. Please check that out every single Monday through Thursday right here on Rochester First. And again, we also do our game day recap. I'd love to tell you what time those shows are on. Most of the time it's 9:30 the next morning. But because the Bills never play at the same time 2 times in a row, our show schedule is all over the place too. So please keep an eye on your schedule for that. Now, this week, the Bills will face the Patriots. And, you know, at the back end of the first block there, I talked about how the Bills this year on defense have allowed way more rush yards than pass yards, which is just ridiculous. In part because the passing offenses the Bills have faced, including the Dolphins, have not been very good this year. Well, this New England offense is actually ranked highly when it comes to the passing game, which is bananas to think about because other than Stephon Diggs, I'll give you an hour, you won't even come up with any of their starting receivers if you don't play fantasy football. Drake May, though, has been someone who's had a really nice start to his second season in the NFL, and he's quickly gaining, a ton of credit for the jump he's taken. He's been very efficient. Right now, the Patriots passing offense in general ranks top 10 in yards, top 10 in efficiency. Drake May, believe it or not, is far and away right now the most efficient quarterback on third down. So, whatever concerns you might have about a young quarterback, if you can make it happen on the money down, you're going to be fine. And so far, Drake May is doing exactly that. The thing that I see most, and some of the Bills players talked about this yesterday when we talked to them about Drake May, is that you can see the poise. You can see the calm under pressure, the control, the fact that he doesn't get riled up when, things start to get a little hairy for him. And I don't care about the numbers. Of all the things I want to see in a second-year quarterback, let me see that you can manage the pocket. I mean, you want to get to the point where you're Josh Allen, where you don't just manage the pocket, you control the pocket, you run the pocket. You're not riding the roller coaster of whatever the rush or blitz game is. You're making the defense ride your roller coaster. That's Josh Allen. Drake May never get there. Very few quarterbacks do. But Drake May is at least managing his own roller coaster just fine. And being, as you see here, a quality runner is a part of it. He's got multiple scramble touchdowns already this season, and he will be a threat out of the backfield on Sunday when New England comes to Foxborough. Here's the thing with May, where I don't really, land in a spot where I think he's one of the top quarterbacks. I think he's had a nice improvement, and I certainly like him in general. I think he can be a guy who can be really good in this league for a long time. But he only won one game last year against the really bad Bears team. They hammered a Panthers team, which, except for 1 week against Atlanta, has been one of the 3 or 4 worst teams in the NFL. The Patriots did last week. Their other win was a Miami game. Now, on the road, give them credit there. In a weird game, though, to where you had back-to-back kick return touchdowns, and May didn't really have to, nor did he, do anything late in that game to finish off Miami. He did have a really nice throw on a third down that turned into a 55-yard catch and run for Ramondre Stevenson, where he had to navigate the pocket a little bit and throw a ball. Stevenson was pretty wide open, but a throw on the move was a solid play. But after New England got up by 6, the Patriots had the ball twice with an opportunity to finish Miami off and didn't move it either time. The Dolphins were down 6 and got 2 chances, 2 extended chances to win that game. So for all the good we've seen with May, what the numbers say, the efficiency, what all that stuff says, this is not exactly a guy that's been tested much. I mean, it's been the Raiders and the Dolphins and the Steelers, who are 3-1, but as they always are. You don't understand one bit how they possibly got the 3-1. And a terrible Carolina team. So there's no doubt that I don't even care who's healthy for the Bills on defense. This Sunday night will be a step up in a big way for Drake May. And that's where I want to see it. You can tell me about efficiency numbers all you want. You can talk about how he's, taking a big step. The stat you'll see in the thing going around social media a lot is Drake May has been the best of all the quarterbacks who were drafted last year. Great. But we're talking about, Michael Penix and Bo Nix, who's been okay. These are not guys that are, knocking your socks off in any way. So for Drake May to really be a thorn in the side of a team like Buffalo, this is the kind of stage you got to see it on. I don't care that he can pound the Panthers. I don't care that he can throw, early fourth quarter, wide open 20-yard throws on the run. It's a solid throw again, but I need to see more than that from Drake May. And again, I'm not saying that he can't be, one of those elite quarterbacks, that he can't get to that level where he's leading a team that's going to challenge a squad like Buffalo on a regular basis. He could certainly get there, but it's not yet. If you follow Patriots media, boy, they are very happy to salivate over the 4 games we've seen from Drake May so far. And there's good stuff. Don't get me wrong. But it's not there yet. I want to see it. It doesn't even have to be against Buffalo. Give me a good game against, I don't know, Pittsburgh. Remember, they lost that game. I know they turned it over 5 times. There were issues with New England, with running backs fumbling. But the Steelers' go-ahead touchdown was set up by a Drake May fumble. So you're going to hear a lot this week, and appropriately so, because there's a good chunk of this that he has earned about where Drake May is at as a quarterback, how good the numbers look. The scary thing is, and I'll give Josh Reed from WIVB on Bills Kickoff Live as well credit for pointing this out, the Drake May, Josh Allen comparison, at least for statistics this year through 4 games, is eerily similar. The numbers in a lot of ways are almost identical. You can go look it up on your own. So, Josh Allen, who's probably the front runner for MVP right now, is a guy who Drake May is equaling in statistically through 4 games. And that sounds like really lofty praise, because it is. But I don't think May has done enough to even come close to belonging in that conversation yet. The other funny part about this is that he and Josh Allen are actually pretty tight. Josh talked yesterday about how they have the same agent, so they spent some time together in the offseason. Josh raves about who Drake May is a person. Just the way he goes about his business, the attitude. So, Josh kind of laughs. He's like, I still call him, he's in the kid realm for me, but Josh has kind of become a mentor for May a little bit. And Bills fans may not want to hear that, because the last thing that the Bills need after all the years having to chase the Patriots around is Josh Allen helping a Patriots to chase them around. But this is why Josh Allen is a 12 out of 10 human, because he does not mind and embraces the role of, okay, I'm now the veteran. I'm now the guy setting the example. I'm now the guy who's expected to help the next generation along. And he's, totally doing it for guys that approach him. He's not doing it for, every quarterback in the league. But for a guy like Drake May, where there's a connection, Allen is making the effort. And you appreciate that out of your quarterback. I think you want your quarterback to be that guy, even if he's helping the division rival a little bit. Regardless, though, the hype for Drake May is yet to match the big-time production or the production in a big-time spot. And to be fair, he just hasn't had, many of those looks. Now, this game on Sunday isn't, for the division title. Even if New England pulls out a win, they're still a game back. The Bills have a ridiculously easy schedule. It's going to be difficult for anyone other than Buffalo to end up on top of this AFC East. Now, look, if New England looks good and wins the game, then maybe we have a conversation. But it's not exactly like the Patriots are walking in this game on Sunday with a chance to shake up the world. They might certainly make a statement, but we're a long way from that. Regardless, this is a spot where if Drake May is going to take a next level step, if Drake May is going to take a step into being a quarterback that can compete with an elite guy like Josh Allen, an elite team like the Bills, you got to do more than what I've seen from you already. And I don't even care what the numbers say. I don't care how efficient you are on third down. You got to make these plays under the lights in front of the whiteout, whatever that's going to be, Sunday night against the Bills. Speaking of the whiteout, by the way, I mean, I'm excited to be there. You know, I really can't wait to see how much of a whiteout Bills fans provide. But, you know, people are throwing around the comparisons to the Penn State whiteout because it just happened last week and it was awesome. I don't know if you watched, I got a chance to watch a lot of that Penn State Oregon game last weekend, and the whiteout was really, really cool. You know, like, I haven't watched a lot of those whiteout games, but you watch that thing for 5 or 10 minutes, it'll go on your bucket list fast. But that is a tradition that Penn State's been doing years, decades. You know, everybody looks forward to it. They anticipate it. They know what it's like. They know why it's cool. It's so hard to replicate those things anywhere else, but, you know, at the professional level in particular. Because in the pros, there really aren't that many traditions. You know, you don't go to a Bills game to do the whiteout. You don't go to the Bills game because you're doing a wave. You know, most people go to a Bills game because they want to jump on tables, right? That's the Buffalo tradition. And you build up traditions by doing them year after year after year. So when you're going to do something this weekend that's never been done before, I think going into that expecting Penn State level atmosphere, you're probably asking to be disappointed. That being said, it's a cool idea to go with the white uniforms. I mean, the one thing Penn State got wrong with their whiteout last weekend is they're wearing the blue, I think, because the NCAA mandates that. So, you know, their fans are all in white, but the team is in blue. At least in Buffalo, the fans will be in white and the team will be in white. So that'll be cool. And if there's a fan base and a stadium in the NFL where you can at least reasonably hope for a college atmosphere facsimile, it is certainly Buffalo. So I'm not expecting Penn State level excitement, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Bills Mafia can do when they get their chance to do the whiteout on Sunday night. All right, we're going to take another break here. When we come back, we will talk some baseball. Like I said, we are blue and red behind me today for all the Guardians fans here in this building and on this network and on this broadcast every once in a while. We will talk Yankees, though, and why this playoff has been pretty good when we return. You are watching Rock One. You're watching the Endgame. I'm Thad Brown. We're back after this. What's up? We're back on the Endgame, closing out a show here on a Thursday afternoon. Baseball playoffs are underway right now. Tigers and Guardians, no score. It must somehow be going poorly for the Guardians because the sports office actually right next door. It's right over there actually. And I just hear Rachel Liebert yelling and screaming about something. It's no score though. I don't know what's going wrong here. No errors yet in the game. So hopefully for her sake, the Guardians pull it out today. But Tigers do have first and third in the third inning with one out. Baseball has to be super excited with how this playoff has started because you think about this wild card series, you got 3 out of 4 that went 3 games. And of the 4, the one that didn't go 3 games is the one no one really cared about. The one where the Dodgers were expected to pace the Reds. They did exactly that, whooped them 2 games, and Cincinnati can go home. They probably were never a worthy playoff team to begin with. The other 3 series are all going game 3s today, and they're all, full of teams that are really attractive when it comes to baseball and what they're trying to build. Got a lot of big markets, Boston, New York, Chicago, Detroit. You got a great story when it comes to the Guardians, who were left for dead a month ago. And now, if they can outplay the Tigers for 7 innings, are going to be in the final 8 in the divisional round, 3 wins away from an ALCS. So it's an awesome story. It's easy to sell and, get people interested in terms of watching the games. And then the Padres, the other team that's still alive, playing a game 3 today. They've got stars, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis. I mean, it's a notable team. It's, a relatively easy sell. So all of these, no matter who wins these series, baseball is going to end up with 3 and 4 if you include the Dodgers, 3 really attractive, really fun teams to follow in the final 8. And the series themselves have been really interesting. I mean, the first 2 games of all 3 of these series were essentially super tight. I mean, the only one that was decided by more than 3 runs was Guardians Detroit yesterday. That was 1-1 in the bottom of the 8th, and then Cleveland scored 3. Tigers up 1-0, by the way. Say a small prayer for Rachel Liebert, please. So it's been super exciting, super tight. everything you want out of playoff baseball with all these good stories. In fact, like the teams that are playing now are almost the better stories than the better teams who got the buys. Philly will be fun. I get that. And Toronto, I'm sure baseball's happy to have a big Canadian city involved in this. But, Seattle's got Cal Raleigh, big dumper. That's cool. But after that, Julio Rodriguez, how many other guys can you name on that team? And then the team with the best record in baseball, Milwaukee, is probably the last one baseball wants anyone near a World Series. So, even though I think the storylines are better with the teams that are playing right now, you're still going to get 4 of them that are in the next round, plus Philly, plus some other good stuff. So that there's the possibility here for a really, really fun postseason. I think I get the feel at least, that the playoff we have ahead could be really awesome. Now, it gets better from a local point of view here, a Western New York point of view, if the Yankees are involved. And that, of course, is going to be somewhat of the on the shoulders of Mr. Aaron Boone, who, once again, has done things that have angered Yankee fans and have questioned his ability to really get this team to a World Series. It was, yanking Max Fried in the top of the 7th with 1 out, nobody on, after going 100 pitches. Aaron Boone really sticks to the analytic stuff in general. And then the Yankees go to the bullpen, and the next pitcher comes in, Luke Weaver, and goes, what is it, walk, single, double, maybe single, double, walk, whatever it was, and allowed 2 runs, and that was essentially the ballgame. The thing about Boone, and I read an article in The Athletic written by Ian O'Connor, who's been around forever when it comes to New York City sports. Didn't know he worked for The Athletic. Very happy I subscribe now that I found that out, because he is excellent. Who talked about how much Boone's players really work hard for him, and why you saw that in Game 2 when the Yankees came back and got a win over Boston last night. A couple of things he pointed out. Number one, I didn't know this. Last year in the World Series, when Garrett Cole got pulled after 88 pitches, that was, you want to talk about raising the ire of the old school Yankee fan. Bob Gibson used to pitch 9 innings every other day, and why are we complaining about, pulling these guys after 100 pitches now? Garrett Cole would be like example 1A of that. Well, as it turned out, Garrett Cole told Aaron Boone that he was gassed. So if you're a manager, you can't say, I don't care, go back out there and pitch. You got to pull the guy out of the game. So number one, that happened last year. And again, I think most reaction to that was, there's Aaron Boone again, following his book, not using his gut and doing the wrong thing. Number two, Aaron Boone didn't play Ben Rice and Jazz Chisholm in Game 1. Didn't want to go against the lefty Garrett Crochet with a couple lefty hitters, even though Rice in particular and Chisholm too, Chisholm made an all-star game this year, have been, very good players for the Yanks. Now, Chisholm, after the game on Tuesday, did an interview with media with his back to the cameras the whole time. So he answered questions, but while he was staring at his locker. Certainly an indication of displeasure with something, not exactly the way you want to handle that, even if you're trying to send a message that you don't like the decision or don't like the manager. But last night after Game 2, when Chisholm plays well and they ask him about his relationship with Boone, he had nothing but great things to say. I always go to bat for my manager. We don't necessarily get along, but, I'm always going to help him out. I'm paraphrasing there. And in the article that Ian O'Connor wrote about Boone, Boone said, look, it is not my job to save face or look good. That's not what I'm supposed to do here. You don't have to like Aaron Boone. You don't have to agree with him. And I'll give Ian O'Connor credit, because in an article that is, probably with Boone's blessing to a degree, certainly, based on a relationship that I think he's built with Boone, he says right in the article that Boone has been a good manager, not a great one. And I think that's inarguable, considering the resources the Yankees have and the lack of high-end success they've had. But even if you don't think he's a great manager, it seems pretty clear the Yankees are still playing for him. Certainly last night would be a check mark on that side of the ledger. And what Jazz Chisholm said himself is another part of that. So, Boone doesn't have to be a great manager to have the respect of his players, or even maybe the respect of fans. He's clearly doing some things right, because the guys are still playing for him. The thing I've always thought about the Yankees, maybe not always, but what it seems to come up a lot is when you have a manager like Boone, who is more of the inclination of I'm going to pull pitchers early because I don't want to push them past a certain number. This team has never had the bullpen to support that. You know, the Yankees have been we're going to spend big money on sluggers and starting pitchers, and we're going to, kind of bludgeon our way to a championship. But they have a manager that wants to rely on the bullpen, maybe more so than other guys in the league. And their bullpen is never good enough for that. Now, it's easy for me to sit here and say they should spend all that money on bullpen arms. It doesn't come that easy. You can spend $1 gazillion and grab Juan Soto or Giancarlo Stanton. But finding a quality reliever is more difficult because you can't spend $1 million on 3 closers and expect them all to do the same job. Maybe, but there aren't big money closers that are just readily available, especially in free agency. And I mean, look, they went out and got a pretty good closer this year in Devin Williams, and he melted down because that's what relief pitchers do sometimes. Regardless, I'm not going to take Boone off the hook. There are things that I'm sure he could have done better. And the way the Yanks melted down at the end of the playoffs last year, at some level, that's on your manager. But I have thought that this Yankee team in the Boone era has never really been built well enough to succeed the way he wants to manage in the playoffs. And maybe some of that is his fault. If you're going to go out there and, have Max Fried or a Garrett Cole, or Carlos Rodon, all these pitchers, all these elite starters, then maybe you got to ride them, no matter what the book says. And again, I made fun of the people who always kind of lean that way, and now I'm kind of in that spot. But the build of the roster and the way the manager kind of goes about his business have not matched enough, I think, for the Yanks to succeed in the playoffs. Some of that, too, is just, look, it's baseball playoffs. I hit a ball hard and it goes into a mitt. You hit a ball hard and it goes 3 feet left of a mitt. Sometimes it's that simple. But Aaron Boone, I think, has taken more flack than he has deserved for Yankee failures. And to his credit, in that article with Ian O'Connor, he basically admitted that, look, that's my job. It is not, I am not here to look good. I'm here to try and win games. And he hasn't done it at a level that's been commensurate with a great manager, but he's probably done it at a level that's better than the reception he's received. And in that way, he and Sean McDermott probably have a lot of things in common, too. Either way, fun playoff. As a Brewer fan, I'm looking forward to see who my team gets, whether it's San Diego or the Cubs. I want San Diego over the Cubs. No knock on the Padres. I think the Cubs are pretty good. But either one will be a pain in the neck. Should be fun. Bills and Patriots Sunday night. Remember, check out BKL Nightly, 8:30 tonight. We'll have more on what happened today in Orchard Park. We'll also talk more. It'll be again Monday, 9:30 in the morning, recapping what happens against New England Sunday night in Orchard Park. Thanks for watching the Endgame. Remember, keep it tuned here to Rochester First. The kids, they all call it Rock One because, kids are smarter and cooler that way. We'll see you again on Monday.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.